Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 20 of Spotlight on Success. I'm Dr. Rhonda Farrell, your success strategist, bringing you continuous improvement is an everyday thing. Everyday excellence, how to lead, learn, and level up daily. Our theme this week is about normalizing continuous improvement as not only a leadership tactic, but a leadership lifestyle. It's not just a special project. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur of a billion-dollar company, a solopreneur, a business leader, a team lead, or a SME. You may be leading a global team, a domestic team, or a team of yourself, or completely in the pipeline for raising up your leadership capabilities. And that's okay, because your edge, no matter where you are along that continuum, lies in your ability to identify, act on, and systematize tiny refinements that create exponential impact over time. That's right. We are shooting for excellence in the long term. And the way we do that is through micro shifts on a daily basis. So let's talk about what continuous improvement really means. It's not about perfection. It's about progress on purpose. And what are we shooting for? We are shooting for small, tiny tweaks that add up to big wins over time. In the realm of continuous improvement, it's definitely not a one done. It is about consistency beats short-term intensity, especially when it comes to creating, maintaining, and sustaining leadership-driven excellence. So our challenge to you for today and this next week is, what is one thing that you want to take on that you can do 1% better every day? And you might ask, well, I could probably think of 100. Well, going back to your one thing, your strategy, your big, hairy, audacious goal, or your biggest outcomes and results, we want you to use 3 R's of daily improvement. First R is reflect. What is going well against those outcomes and results, our big, hairy, audacious goal? What is going well in the bigger picture? Now we want you to dial it in. Now that's the global view. Let's dial it into today, this hour, this part of the day, this minute, whatever that looks like to you, and say, what went well today, now, this morning, this afternoon, this evening? Where did we just dial it in and bust out from an excellence and a consistency and a teaming perspective? And then conversely, I want you to take a moment as the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, the business leader, the team lead, you to the power of you. What felt off? Where were you angry, frustrated, dismayed, despairing, right? So we want to look at, what are you just hitting it out of the park in? And then what is just feeling heavy to have to move through? Because sometimes that's exactly where we can make the biggest pivot, is in that place where it's just feeling off. And so we move from reflect to reimagine. So if we look at, what is that heavy, angry, frustrating place at, and say, what's the one thing we could do? Or even before we get to the do, let's ask ourselves, what could this look like if it were easier, faster, or more joyful? What is that big picture outcome? You don't have to know the how to get there. You just have to say, in my mind, I can see this thing that we're really struggling through to be this. to look like this, to feel like this. And if you can imagine that, maybe it's a dashboard, maybe it's automation, maybe it's integrated data, maybe it's clean data, maybe it's a partner, maybe it's something else. But what is the one thing that if it were easier, faster, and more joyful, what could or would that look like? And then we need to get curious about that, right? What, if you can envision it, that means you have the power to be able to make that happen. So we need to reverse engineer. What would that require? Would that require technology, a process, more people, a partner, something else? So we start from a place of curiosity to move us into innovation, right? So reflect, reimagine. Now we're going to recommit. So once we've gotten that preferred outcome, preferred results, and we've re-engineered some ways we could go about it, now it's time to make the map and take the action, right? So one small action that you can refine tomorrow to move you forward towards that goal. You don't have to go 0 to 100 tomorrow. You have to go 0 to 5 miles per hour, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, right? One baby step forward. I know sometimes we want to get there because we can see it and we can taste it and we can smell it and we know it's going to be so much better on the other side of that. But it's in the baby step where you're going to have the learning, where you're going to understand, am I hitting another constraint or am I really enabling this to move forward faster? So set yourself up for success, one baby step, take the reflection, take the reimagination if you need to for what you're going to do the next day and then the next day. The intent is to make a habit of this: reflect, reimagine, recommit, reflect, reimagine, recommit, reflect, reimagine, recommit, and so on, because not only will that get you to 10x, 25x, 50x, it's going to help you get 1% better every day, which will lead you ultimately to excellence. And so how do we, what else do we need to do, right, to be able to honor that 3 R's of daily improvement? And that is micro habits equals macro impact. So is there 15 minutes in your schedule that you could work with your team or your board of advisors or some friend or peer that knows your business to do an ops review, right? So that reflect, reimagine, recommit, maybe that's tracking for you. But if you involved another, if you involved a different part of the organization, if you involved a peer, if you involved a partner, maybe they help you go 2x, 5x, 10x, twice as fast. So 15-minute weekly ops reviews to understand where you were, where you're going, where you've been this past week, and then where you want to go next week. Track one process, one tech process or people tweak per week, because it's not just about process. Yes, continuous improvement focuses on the process layer, but technology is an enabler and people is your resources to help you get your process correct. It helps you think through it properly, and the technology helps you enable it end to end from an automation standpoint. Ask again for one or more pieces of feedback from your team, your partners, and your clients. And then keep a fix it forward list. So we want you every single time you notice something that is that where it felt off, right? Inefficiencies, ineffectiveness, productivity hits, whatever, culture, people, technology, other processes, right? Everything goes in that fix it forward list, and you're just going to be tracking those and assigning it when you reach the right time to be able to take that on. And that could be part of your weekly ops review or part of your reflection, reimagine, recommitting, right? What do we already see that we know we have to handle? Is it already up there? And should we be taking that on to remove our next short-term constraint or resistance? And then reminding yourself that tiny actions build trust, clarity, and efficiency over time. It's, again, you're not going 0 to 100. You're just building muscle to do this day in and day out, day in and day out. And before you know it, you've hit 2x, you've hit 5x, you've hit 10x, you've hit 25x and beyond if that's where you're going. Next, we want you to measure your momentum, right? And that means keeping a personal continuous improvement scorecards. Yes, if you love dashboards, by all means, make the dashboards, scorecards. They are so, so, so important. But we also just want you to do what works best for you. If it's a checklist, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, if you just have a Kanban board where you're mapping what small 1% improvement you are making, that will work too, right? So dashboards work, scorecards work, checklists works, Kanban board works, post-it note. If that's all you've got, then that's what your jam is, then please, by all means, do what you need to do to keep you moving forward. But what we want to do is track the little wins. What did you fix? What did you simplify? Where did you reclaim time and or clarity, right? What were the friction fixes that you implemented? What were the team engagement touch points that you had, and what was the outcomes from that? What great innovations, ideas, ways forward did you glean from those? Log your process improvements, log your decisions, log the robustness of those decisions, and understand if that's part of your issue or where you can use an enabler going forward. And then most of all, where's the time and reclaimed and the waste removed from your optimization efforts? So what you measure, you improve. So what we want to get you to is that continuous improvement is a way of thinking every day. It's not a quarterly goal. It's not a team training. It's not just again, a one and done. The most resilient businesses are led by people who ask daily, hourly, minute by minute, what can we do to make ourselves 1% better today? That's it, just 1%. That's it. So here's your challenge. Pick your one thing in your business, your work life, your partner and client relationships, whatever that's clunky, unclear, frustrating, despairing, angerifying, whatever that looks like to you, that's heavy and not fun and not enjoyable and not fast. And just go fix it. That's it. So tell your team, model it, track it, because excellence grows in the small, brave moments of refinement. So again, continuous improvement doesn't happen just once. It happens daily. One decision, one system, one better question at a time. You've got this. Week 20, continuous improvement is an everyday thing. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell signing off from week 20 of Spotlight on Success, where we discussed everyday excellence, how to lead, learn, and level up daily.